What's up guys, it's me Lori, aka Loretta Chow, the sex reporter, here to start objective conversations about sex, dating, and relationships. So in the last video, you guys saw submissions from several different women talking about their perspectives on being single and over 30. As part of that, I did some research looking at, what data there is out there telling us about what happens to people once they reach a certain age if they haven't settled down and gotten married and had kids. And I found some interesting things that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to share with you information that I found for the US only because there isn't consistent research globally in every single country, so the easiest thing to compare is to look at country related data. I will put links to all the articles and sources that I found in the description box. So first things first, the most basic information. One thing we do know, which I've addressed on this channel before, is that marriage is becoming less popular over time. The Pew Research Center estimates that less than half of Americans over 18 are married now, compared to almost 60% in 1990. In addition to that, Americans are also delaying marriage later and later. At the same time, lots of studies come out telling us every year that Americans are getting less and less happy. But before you jump to conclusions, it's actually for economic reasons, not marital ones. The US is experiencing an expanding wealth gap right now, which obviously leads to a lot of frustrations and challenges in everyday life. So not finding answers that way, I looked at divorce rates as well, which are very popular when it comes to discussions about unhappiness and the quote-unquote downfall of the American family. As it turns out, even though people often say half of marriages end in divorce, the actual divorce rate is the subject of a lot of disagreement, and no one actually knows what the real divorce rate is because there are just many different ways to look at that metric. Regardless of all the differences though, most people seem to estimate that it's somewhere between 40 and 50%, and that has actually been pretty steady over the years. So in other words, we're not seeing like a rapid decline of marriage anymore or like a spike in divorce rates. It's more that it's just consistent. Some actually even argue that divorce is declining. Anyway, it's common, I think, because weddings tend to be happy and divorces tend to be sad, that people associate divorce rates with unhappiness, and we think that if you get divorced, you must be an unhappy person. It sounds logical, but actually it's based on the biased assumption that marriage equals happiness, and therefore divorce equals a failure of marriage and therefore a failure of achieving happiness. In reality, happy weddings don't always equal happy marriages. And so that's why so many people decide that they would actually be happy ending their marriages than staying in them, hence divorce.
So first of all, I'm 44. I left my marriage when I was 38 years old. It was one of the best decisions for me personally that I ever made in my life. It was really me trying to venture forth and find what I was looking for from love and life and myself.
One could argue that people should try a little harder and all that stuff, but that's a different argument. The point is, lots of people take the decision to end their marriages because in the end, that's how they decide their lives can be better.
Do you know how much work it takes to really be in a committed relationship? Like every day? Most of the people who get married in their 20s, by the time they hit their 40s, they ain't married.
What I also find interesting about the data is even though people are getting divorced, remarriage is on the rise. Almost a quarter of people who were married in 2013 said that they had previously been married to someone else. That's up from 13% in 1960. What that tells me is that an increasing number of people are finding love and happiness after divorce. Life goes on.
I know that you think if you're single, you must not be dating, you at home someplace knitting, hoarding cats. I'm doing neither one of those things. I'm actually really, really enjoying my life. I'm just choosing not to be in a relationship right now.
There is a gender difference in the statistic, however, which I don't know the reason for, and that is that women are less likely to want to remarry than men. So it actually says that 54% of women were not interested in getting married again versus 30% of men.
I'm sure if I found that perfect person that didn't make my life miserable, that we would have tons of fun and it would be great. But that's, I'm not open to that. But I'm also not, it's not my full-time job looking for that. I have a lot of other things to do, like take care of myself, which is, which I've been doing pretty well for a long time. And that's good. That's kind of what I end up wanting to communicate to anybody that gives me flack for not having a man.
I'm going to share one last piece of research with you guys today, which was a really interesting one conducted by researchers at Harvard over 80 years, following the same people over time. What I love about this study is that it follows strict control groups. In other words, the same people with the same backgrounds. That's solid scientific method. It doesn't start with any ideological assumptions about marriage or divorce, and it really just looks and observes happiness and aging. These researchers found that good relationships do have a significant impact on both your physical and your mental health. But here's the thing, they mean all relationships, not just the romantic ones. So that means they include marriage when they're talking about good relationships, but they also mean family, friends, and community in general. So in that case, it doesn't matter whether you have that piece of paper, or you've been divorced, or you've reached so-called spinster status. The bottom line is that you're better off surrounded by people you love and who love you than being alone.
You are never alone if you have good friends and a good family, and most importantly, if you have love for life and love for yourself.
In addition to that, they actually found that if marriages are bad, they actually have the opposite effect of good marriages. Like if people are fighting all the time and they feel insecure and unhappy, it can actually have an adverse effect on your health. They said people in unhappy marriages actually felt more emotional and physical pain.
There are also people who are in relationships, who've been in relationships for 5, 10, 15 years and are extremely lonely, maybe even more so than I am, because they're in a relationship and they're not getting what they want from their partner, and they don't know how to do things on their own because they're so used to having that partner. So
I'm gonna let you guys decide on whether or not this data says marriage is the key to happiness. Looking at this data and also just talking to women through this project and otherwise, my takeaway is that we're taught to assume that marriage will lead to happiness. And it might for some, but there's just a lot more to life and to love. Regardless of what other people think or what the trends are, the beautiful thing about being human is that life is mostly unscripted and we have some level of autonomy. Thank you so much for watching this series. If you found anything helpful in it, I hope you'll hit the thumbs up button and that you'll subscribe to this channel, and also hit that little bell next to the subscribe button, because that is the only way that you're going to hear about new videos that come out. If you have a perspective to share on whether you think marriage is the key to your happiness, if you're married, has that been the key to your happiness? If you're not, do you really hope that you're gonna be one day? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.